Hey there! I hope you're doing at least as great as I am. This is a short status update on the R35 restoration situation. Obviously I didn't done any video since the first one because, well, stuff happens. I've finished my project thesis, done an internship, and now I'm doing my master's thesis, so obviously as busy as always. But nevertheless, I've done tons of progress on the R35. And as a short spoiler, engine, transmission and final drive are more or less ready for assembly, so nice. I've done tons of manufacturing and also done lots of videos on that, but I didn't have any motivation to cutting them. In the next days I hopefully will make up some more progress on cutting all these videos into something that you might enjoy. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this one. Bye. Hi, I'm Alex. As it is more or less the last chance to show off the carnage on my BMW R35, I would like to make a small buyer's guide of what to look out if you're in the game of buying a BMW R35 or EMW. Yeah, just as a warning, stay away from Soviet barn finds, because you will see a Soviet barn find right now. To start off, there are some books that I'd like to recommend. First one is Eisernes aus Eisenach. It is a book specifically on this bike. More or less you have a little bit of history on it. Then you have a workshop repair manual, and parts lists for BMW and EMW bikes. I don't want to spoil anything, but history, a workshop manual and parts lists. This thing is around 30 bucks. Even if you don't speak German, get it, because alone the parts lists are worth it. And if you're German or can speak German, the books from Karl Hertweg, Der Kupferwurm und Besser machen, are quite good. Kupferwurm is first half. It's about electrical systems on old pre-war and post-war German motorcycles. And Besser machen, the second one, is on old motorcycle mechanics, from cylinder heads, crankshafts, pistons, brakes, whatever. It was around 30 bucks, now it's around 40. Still worth it, but unfortunately only in German. So let's start with the carnage. This is my block. Yeah, I'll get the other parts. In this small room I'm working in, it gets quite cozy quite fast, so I'll prepare it quite fast for you. Don't wonder, it's not an earthquake, it's public transport. And I can't remove these noises, and I don't really like to. Okay, this is the box. These things were quite reliable and dependable and got a very good reputation. But yeah, 30 or 40 years of heavy use do bad things, and usually these bikes got put off into sheds after heavy use. And so you have take that in mind, that everything, and I mean everything, will be completely worn out. and my bike is quite a good case for that. Let's start with the engine. You have a rear roller bearing on the crankshaft, this one, and front bronze bushing, and yeah, usually it's quite reliable, but after heavy use the front bushing will give. Also the front pin on the crankshaft will wear out. Yeah, that means you need to replace this one. Even more bad is the roller bearing in the connecting rod. This is also oil fed through this bore like this and fed with oil, but yeah, the oil quality back then was bad and these end up wearing out. And quite a fast check to know if your crankshaft is worn out or not is the knock test. Grab the crankshaft by the connecting rod and hit it with your hand. If you can hear a knock like this, yeah, you're into $500 of restoring this thing or getting a restored one. The only parts you really can use is the connecting rod and both of those, because these pins are usually worn. This one will get damaged if somebody can't press a roller bearing on it, and also this taper will wear down or will be damaged if also somebody doesn't know how to press the flywheel onto that, like on mine. Also, if you don't have a 36 wrench size, just use a cold chisel, also works quite well, but destroys your nut. So, boat anchor. This is my new crankshaft. Make sure that both pins are ground and hardened. The bearing clearance on this one should be 0.04 millimeters. And also you shouldn't have too much of play in this direction on the connecting rod. Oh yeah, you can see that's quite good. Also take a look on the bearing surface down here. The bearing needs to be a push fit. Yeah, no clearance, because on my bearing you can throw it just in. So this one is also junk. That's why I got myself a new one. Still original bearing, which was not pressed out, so I can take care myself of that. Oil pump shaft, the thread is usually stripped on this one. You need to kind of fix this, and also this M8x1 thread for the oiling tube for the cylinder head is also stripped on mine, so yeah. This is the clutch and flywheel. This is how a clutch should look like. This is my clutch looked like. Yeah, people back then had to be quite creative, because they oftentimes didn't get a possibility to get replacement parts, and yeah, quite creative solution to fix this thing. I had to replace mine because, as you can remember, as I can show you, this nut was completely carnaged, and I had to grind flats in it and destroy the flywheel, so got myself another one. These are actually not problematic. The surface should be fine, and not burned. But other than that, those should have no issues. After the crankshaft, let's follow with the camshaft. This thing is also on a bronze bushing. I've welded mine out because it's the easiest way. You just weld like that around and it falls just off. The oil feed goes like this and then to the camshaft, and after that it goes up to the head. Oil feed is not that awesome on these engines, so the camshaft were out. I will have to show you some archived footage because I've tried to regrind mine and actually worked out quite well. These are completely through-hardened. You can grind them undersized till the size of the cam lobes. It shouldn't be a problem. Bought myself another one, which was unfortunately also old style camshaft. You should look out that the bearing surface on the front and the rear look good. They might be undersized, but then you need to make custom bushings on them. This one is new old stock, and the nice thing of having a new old stock camshaft, this one, is that I got myself a master cam that I can regrind old camshafts off. Also, this is the difference between new sprocket and worn sprocket. Just replace these and take a new chain for the drive. You can get those as reproduction in quite good quality, so replace them, replace the chain. Oil pump. It is a quite simple gear style oil pump. It looks like this. Turns counterclockwise, so like that. Take a look that these gears look good, that those are not damaged, and especially that the surface here inside it, that this one is in good condition, because if this pump eats some metal debris, then the surface will get bad and damaged, and you will lose pressure, and it's absolutely not good. You've already seen the crankshaft is worn out, the camshaft is worn out, so make sure that the oil pump is in good condition. If not, then try your luck on eBay and get another one. Maybe you're lucky enough that you get a good one like I am. If you also look at the oil pan, or yeah, it's not really an oil pan, but let's call it oil pan. Mine has some minor dents. Can you see that? So some rocks hits from below, and you can see that the oil pump was inside like this, because you can see some marks on it. So mine was destroyed by rocks. you can get those as a reproduction. I got an old one. Just make sure that these are not dented and that this sealing surface is in good condition. Pistons, mine look like this. The rings kinda look sketchy and not original. I assume because back then they didn't get or didn't have fitting rings and just took something they got. Yeah, I got an original size piston, 7196. There were 3 oversizes. I got myself an original one and sent it off to my piston specialist, and he redid the whole piston. So new pin, new rings, some slight tuning. I would recommend getting old ones and let them be overhauled, because they are production pistons that are too heavy, and you don't want to have a concrete mixer or soil compactor out of this engine. Ha, almost forgot the cylinder. It looks like this. Usually it's not a problematic part. This thing is cast iron with a steel sleeve inside, out from factory. As already mentioned, you can, or back in the day you could buy 3 oversized pistons, and also can bore it up 3 sizes until it is too small or has too thick of a wall. This one is already reground to the first oversize. The only problem you might have with these cylinders are broken off ribs. Yeah, it doesn't look nice in first place, and second, if there are too many broken off, then you will get cooling issues. Cylinder head. These are actually quite robust. Just make sure that the thread for the exhaust is in good condition. Mine's is in a questionable condition, but not terrible one. If you open it up, yeah, mine has a quite creative gasket. I don't know from what. This is actually a pre-war head. Make sure that these are intact. Make sure that the rockers are okay. Mines are not. Change the springs, change the valves, because new stuff is more reliable than these old ones, and after 70 years they tend to break. So if you take your head apart, just replace the complete valve train of it. Quite often these threads strip, so make sure that those are okay. These are M6 regular, and that's it for the cylinder head. I have finally disassembled the cylinder head. Watch this. The valve guides and valve stems are horribly worn out, and I'm still wondering why these didn't break off. Valve seats and the valves themselves don't look that horrible. Well, yeah. Next part, gearbox. And this is also gearbox. So this is how the gearbox looks like. It's a simple 4-gear gearbox, H pattern style shifting, gears 1, 2, 3 and direct drive 1-to-1 transmission. You have an input shaft, output shaft, secondary shaft, Kickstarter with its shaft. I will make a detailed video later on how all this works, because now I'm only showing what can go wrong on these. Usually the third gear wears down, especially if this bike is driven in an area with lots of hills, and if the motorcycle had a sidecar on it, because the material of this gear isn't strong enough to transmit that high torques. Yeah. If this gear goes, usually also the secondary shaft goes. My third gear looks quite okay, but the second one had a catastrophic failure. Yeah, you can see it quite good. This one is gone. This one also. Yeah. I have no idea how and why, but this is junk. Also you have 2 bronze bearings in this and a secondary shaft and a hardened shaft which they ride on. Clearance should be 0.04 millimeters, and this sounds like it is a bigger clearance, and I've also measured it out, so also this shaft doesn't look quite good, just optically. If you measure them out, they are quite often worn out. Yeah, junk. You also need to change this bearing of the input shaft, because they wear down. The ball bearing also needs to be changed. And take a look at this pin. This one rides in the crankshaft. Like that, or more or less like that. This is a sintered metal bushing, which should be only oiled. Many replace these with bronze bushings. I'm not a fan of that, so you can regrind these undersized and find yourself a new sintered metal bushing. This second gear also is pretty much done. Luckily the third gear on my shaft is still in good condition. You need also to take a look at the shift dogs right here. Because this is how the gears are engaged or disengaged. These just move. So take a look that the things where the dogs engage, I don't have the English term right now, that they look in good condition, because they also quite often wear out and then the gearbox will spring out of gear if you apply enough torque. Also there's a bushing that looks like this, with an elliptical oil groove which sits below those. It also wears out and then you have gears that start to move like that. Not a good situation. This just will eat up the whole gearbox, so you need to replace all of them. The front one is out of steel because bronze can't withstand the pressures that this first gear applies to it. At least I assume so. So when you replace this with bronze, I think that might be a problem. So yeah, my shaft is pretty much junk. Kickstarter. This is how the Kickstarter gear looks. Can you see it? Yeah. Yeah. I have no idea why these are soft. And with soft I mean completely soft. Luckily this side is hard. They usually don't wear out, but this clicking mechanism for the starter also wears out, so you might need to replace this thing. There are reproduction ones. Get in. Shifter forks. Mine look quite good. These right inside those. So just make sure that these look okay. So to the new gearbox stuff I got. This was already disassembled. This is how a busted third gear looks. I hope that the camera can focus it up. It's hard to show on camera, but you can see heavy pitting on these teeth. There are reproduction ones, but yeah, just be aware that third gear is usually shot. This is a new secondary shaft, new old stock. Got quite lucky getting this one, but I'll keep it just as a reference for the bushings and so on, because this secondary shaft is good enough. The third gear is not busted, but these bushings are busted. Usually this should be 15H7 and the shaft should be 15F9 or E9 to the size, so should be quite easy to reproduce these. Also to the housings, this starter housing quite often breaks somewhere around here. Make sure that this thing is not cracked or so. This is the gearbox housing, usually part without problems, except sometimes people cut off the battery compartment because these were repurposed to drive small tractors. Yeah, Eastern Germans had to be quite innovative to have some decent machines. Yeah, this one is quite dirty. Just make sure that bearing seats are okay, that there are no cracks, especially here. They tend to break over here. Usually you get away with just gluing the bearing in with Loctite, or just re-weld this and spin it out to size. Yeah, that's for the gearbox. So where's the final drive? Oh yeah. So the final drive is the same as on other BMWs, and usually those are not problematic, except someone walked on them. Already nice and shiny. So this is how it looks, and those are like that in this gearbox. Make sure that the bevel drive is in good condition, because if it is not in good condition, it will grenade the whole housing. I got quite lucky and mine is in good condition because nobody worked on it, or at least not on this. Also the large one. So what can you do wrong on these? If the play between these is not correct, the bearings and the housing will see forces they shouldn't see, and this will cause the housing to break catastrophically down here, and this more or less means that you need a complete new final drive for around $1,000. I got quite lucky with this because mine is in good condition. This is the drive shaft. These seats for the leather seals usually wear out, but you can regrind these. Also make sure that this gearing is in good condition and fits well, because this should allow angular movement in some small way. This whole bike is a hardtail, and as always everything is rubber, so the chassis can flex, and this connection should allow some small flex, but should be in good condition. Also, this is the part that this gear rides in. I won't put it together because it's a slide. It's a very tight fit. These tend to break if some moron couldn't tighten the rear wheel to normal spec, and normal spec is as much torque as you can get. Show that later on. Just make sure that this one is in good condition. There are reproduction ones for these, but they are kinda known to be out of bad material, which fails. This one is out of C45, if you can see that. Yeah, make sure that this is okay. This things goes here. Make sure that the taper is okay. This fits the gearbox output shaft. Oftentimes the tapers are done. Make sure that you replace this rubber dampener because it should dampen. This thing is hard as rock after 70 years, so you can press these out, this and this, and replace it with new rubber. And other than that, this shaft is press fit. The press fit should be okay. This is a quite strange cast iron housing for this thing. Usually these are out of aluminium. Yeah, no idea why I got this one. And now to the bearings, because it's quite convenient in timing. This is all the set of the bearings that are on the bike. Oh. This is the complete set, because I still didn't figure out how to press this rear wheel bearing out of this casing. Take a listen. This is gearbox input shaft. Okay, this one is quite nice. I think this is gearbox output. Clutch. These usually don't wear down and are quite expensive, so you might get away with keeping this 16106. Yeah, 16106. This should be gearbox input side. Crankshaft main roller bearing. No wonder. This big thing is the final drive main bearing. Take a listen. Yeah, so if you ride on bearings like this, there's also a chance that this whole thing will grenade. Replace them. This one fits here. These two were doubled on this side. This is the old style bearing. There's a better one, new style. I don't have the name in the head. Also, these are completely gone. And these four are wheel bearings on this bike. I won't show them because they are full of grease, also shot. And yeah, you're into around 100 to 150 euros just in bearings. Depends on the quality. Why I bought the highest quality ones, because I don't want to have headaches because of this. So, one of the main problems with these bikes is the power transmission to the rear wheel. So this part is from the final drive, and this thing is the counterpart on the rear drum. And as you might see, this thing doesn't look quite nice. You need to apply as much torque as you can on the shaft that goes through here, so that both parts are pressed together quite good. But as soon as the shaft isn't pressed hard enough, this connection will wear down and break. And this problem is that common that I've till today never really seen an intact one on sale. All of them are broken, and good luck finding a good one. This shouldn't be. There's a solution how you can fix this. Looks like this. You remove all the rivets, then this whole thing will get out. Also there are rivets, if you can see them. Then you go to the lathe and remove all this whole thing and replace that one with a thing like this. Let's go on with the brakes. The front brake plate. You can replace the braking material. It's not that big of an issue. Larger issue is this thing over here. These tend to wear out because this is the only geometry that transmits all the braking torque to the fork, so make sure that this is okay. Front brake thingies are actually quite sturdy, and they usually don't break, which could not be said about these, because the rear ones usually tend to break. Especially right here and right here. Don't buy reproduction cast ones, because those are made out of cheapest pot metal and tend to break, and you don't want your brakes to fail. Buy original ones without any cracks. Just put some new braking material on them and you're good to go. And if we are already at the brakes, let's discuss the fork. That thing's heavy. As mentioned before, this thing might wear out. Mine is in a good condition, but the other piece of the fork is not in good condition, because of this. You don't want to happen this while braking. So you need to weld this thing up and remachine it. I'm not sure if you get away with it. Hot forging this thing back to its original geometry. I'm not sure what I will want to do with this. So first thing to watch out with the fork. Second thing is the rust is obvious. These are more or less junk in this condition. Also there where the metal is more shiny, this doesn't show up on the camera. These tend to run undersize. Then you usually would need to regrind these or rechrome these and regrind these. It seems to be that these are completely soft. I have no idea if somebody reground those and got to the soft core, or if those are soft out of factory. Yeah. Also, springs might break. Okay, that was me removing this thing from here. It didn't want to let go. But this spring, let me see. Yeah, it's easier to see. It broke once and twice, 2 times broken, and somebody was ingenious enough to fix this spring. Well, might have worked, but this one won't move as much as this one, so you kinda end up grenading the whole fork. But as usual, back in the day, maybe they didn't have a chance to replace the springs, so it was the only way to go. Got myself new old stock springs in nice shape. You can also buy new ones for like 20 a set or 20 each, I can't remember. Those are cheap. So not only these are short because rusty and worn out, also there are bushings inside. These are not original ones because somebody already messed this job up. Usually you have bronze bushing, a distance tube, another bronze bushing. This ones only have one bronze bushing because somebody already messed this thing up. So you need to undo these and redo the bushings in the fork. Other than that, you also need to fix or replace the replace those both bearings. Okay, if you are already at the fork, let's do the whole frame. This will be funny. So, need more space. Oh well. So to the frame. It happens quite often that the front engine mounting breaks off somewhere around here, or that the the rivets are compromised or broken or whatever. Look out for that. Look out for the surface for the front bearings. They might be damaged. Same for this. Make sure that these are in good condition. Make sure that the welds are in good condition. Oh boy. My frame is cracked because it was used for sidecar use. So I have a crack down here. I need to weld this. Other than that, the later models got their horn onto here. Somewhere like that. And this thing tends to break. I have an older model, so my horn is on the gearbox case. This frame is also strengthened for sidecar use. This is not original. Other than that, just make sure that these are not bent. You will figure it out quite fast as soon as you install the main drive, and if the shaft or the for the rear wheel doesn't line up with the bearing on this side, then it means that your frame is bent, and good luck with that. Other than that, those usually don't have issues, which is quite nice. So frame is done, rear wheel is done. Exhaust system usually tends to rust away or be dented by rocks. This is an original one for EMW. There's the difference between BMW and EMW. EMW ones are angled, BMW ones are just a straight 90-degree bend. So I'm still looking for original exhaust system, so we'll need to fabricate an angle to use it on my BMW. There are a ton of reproduction exhaust systems. They more or less all work. You just need to watch out that they don't start losing parts inside and start clinging. In other additional stuff, seats. Got myself original seats. They should look like this. These tend to break over here. This one is rewelded. Oh god. This one is rewelded down here. Also make sure that over here where the springs meet this sheet metal part, that there's enough meat on them so that the springs don't cut through it. This is how it looks, or how it should look. Many of these bikes have wrong seats on them. For the passenger, the seat looks almost the same. The springs should look like this. The passenger seat doesn't have these. It's just for the driver one, and if you see some with this of the passenger, then somebody retrofitted it. So much for these. Handlebars should look like this. These are really original ones. It took me 4 tries and like 5 years to find original ones. How did I do it? Or what's the problem with that? Many old German bikes have handlebars that look kind of like this. So they look similar but are all different. And the only way you know that you have an original part fitting to the R35 is that you have these holders. These holders original to the handlebars. These look like this. This is BMW post-war production. BMW pre-war production was one solid part. And if you have handlebars which are where these are installed, you can be more or less sure that this thing is original. I got several Russian ones, a bent original one which I couldn't unbend, so that's that. Also, these holes need to be in the middle of the band. The Russian ones are usually over here and over here. Yeah. This thing should be aluminium. These are quite similar to Russian ones, but obviously stamped in German. Früh, spät. These lower parts for the high beam, low beam usually die because of zinc rot. Don't buy them in original because most of them are zinc rotted away. Even if they look good, they will break away. And these only buy either original ones, and these ones are original. Originals look like this after heavy use. You shouldn't ride with this. This is more or less death trap with those. Yeah, don't buy reproduction ones out of aluminium because they tend to break. These are more or less the same ones as Russian K750 and M72 motorcycles, so you can use original Soviet or Russian ones. Don't use the Chinese ones because they are literally bad quality. Don't use reproduction aluminium, but use reproduction stainless steel. Those are strong enough. More to zinc rod. This is the fuel tap. This part is zinc, and you can see here it's split in half. Thread is broken everywhere. It's full of cracks, so if you want your bike to burn up, use original parts. If not, replace those with an aluminium reproduction one. There's one guy is reproducing them in aluminium. Also front handlebar dampener, or whatever this thing is called, also zinc rod. Every part in this bike that is from zinc. This thing, this lower part is out of zinc, also rots away. And the carburetor, I just replaced them with aluminium. I got myself a high quality reproduction of a Zoom carburetor. The guy doesn't make these anymore, but this is the old style carb with starting aid, beautifully made. Unfortunately, you can't buy these anymore. There are also quite cheap carburetors for around 50 to 70 euros. You can use these. They look horrible but seem to work. Gas tank. Usually there are no large issues on those. These caps tend to break because this is brass, this is steel pressed in, and they break. Mine doesn't fall apart yet, so I'll leave it as it is. You might have issues that these will leak somewhere around here because the seat is in this position, and it might be that the seat damaged the tank, but it's quite rare. More common is that the thread for the gas tap will start leaking. Mine is in okay condition. It's quite easy to re-weld or re-brace this thread, but make sure you do it first and then apply some paint to the outside or the inside, because it will be huge pain if you paint this gas tank and then figure out that this thing leaks. Okay, now let's take a quick look around all the electronics on this bike. Front headlamp, I got myself one from 1953, not 49 as intended, but it's the best thing I could get till now. Where did I know that it's from 53? Because there's no cover for rain protection, and there's already new screw style clamping for this ring. Old ones had a 90-degree angle down here. It should look like this. E-car. These are quite similar to Bosch ERS 150 or 170, can't remember. For post-war bikes, these tend to go around complete with tachometer and switch for around 350 to 500 euros. If you have a pre-war bike, then you need the real Bosch thing, and these tend to go right now around 2,500 to 3,000 euro just for the lamp. Yeah, got lucky with that. This is the main switch. This one is from a later Simson Avo, because it has a switch for neutral drive. But yeah, you can just remove this thing and you're good to go. I got this one quite cheap because it is that rusty. Let's see if I can save this one, and if not, then I'll get the real thing. This is how the tachometer should look like. This is an early style. Gear ratio 1.0. Usually these are also prone to zinc rot. I got very lucky with this one. MAV serial number. Thread should look good, and also just you will see zinc rot from miles away because it just usually looks completely catastrophic. And these should run quite smoothly. Zinc-rotted tachometers don't run smoothly, or they don't run at all. Same thing, this is a later one with MAW logo. This is the early version one, and pre-war bikes have the same tachometer from the company Feigl. It is written down here. They go to 120 kilometers per hour, have gear ratio of 1.0. Also with this one, no zinc rod. Everything is looking smooth, turning nice, and the needle is moving freely, so jackpot 2 times. I'm just keeping this one together with this lamp because it came with the lamp, and if I find a lamp that is period correct to my bike, I might sell this one together with its tachometer. Horn, more or less very similar to Bosch FD style horns. It's quite hard to get these springs because I have no idea why, but it's quite hard to get these horns. You can find quite easily. This one is original from 1949, 12th month of production. Usually it's quite easy to fix them. Just remove this plate and clean all the insides, and you can set up these with this screw. But I will make a video later on for that. This is a generator, also very early production of 1949. What range is it? 9. The wrench sizes are all strange on this thing. Yeah, these shouldn't be corroded. Inside here you can easily change the brushes. Make sure that the commutator looks good. And there are 2 ball bearings here and there. I will show it later. Make sure that you change them. Cost $25 and you're good to go. These are quite robust. I will leave the original mechanical control or in this one. Mainly switch to electrical control, but why change things that work? Also, I have a Bosch boat anchor one. Can you see? Yeah, Bosch. You shouldn't have a generator that looks like this. If so, then either good luck fixing it, or just get another one. This one looks completely horrible. Yeah, copper is oxidized. This thing is oxidized and rusty. I have no idea if the windings are still okay. I don't think so. This is original to pre-war bikes and early post-war, until around 1948 or so. Ignition coil. This one is made in Suhl. Usually they don't break, and if so, then just change this thing. They are not that expensive. Yeah, ignition box, I have no idea how this thing is called in English. Make sure that this bearing seat where this thing rotates in the engine is in good condition. Change the condensator. And maybe change the contacts. Rear light. There is no brake light on this. Looks like this. They tend to break over here. This is a battery production one that looks like this. These are horribly expensive. Made originally by ICA. Those, in this condition, those go around 150 to 200 euros. From time to time you can find new old stock ones, but they go around 500 bucks. Yeah, reproduction ones are quite bad, so if you want to have an original bike, just figure out how to get one of those, because usually the steel parts are okay. This is from Bakelit. Yeah, don't buy the cheapest Polish reproductions, because yeah, didn't have luck with this one. Maybe I'll reverse engineer this thing and 3D print it for myself. Yeah, that's it for electronics. It's not that much of electronics or electrical mechanics. Everything is very simple, actually quite simple to fix. And no wonder that this thing was quite dependable. So yeah, that's it. Turned out to be longer than anticipated, but I hope that it was informative and might help you with your restoration. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day. Bye.